Right now, something inside you wants sugar. Maybe it's been a long day. Maybe someone said something that hurt, or maybe nothing happened at all and the sadness just arrived on its own. You open the cabinet. You stand in front of the vending machine at work, the blue light buzzing over rows of chocolate and gum. Your hand reaches before your mind decides anything. This is not a flaw. This is not weakness. This is a system inside your brain that is several 100,000 years older than the vending machine itself, and it is doing exactly what it was built to do. Here is the strange part. Sugar itself is not particularly nutritious. It has almost no protein, no fat, none of the building blocks your body actually needs to repair itself. And yet, when you are anxious, grieving, exhausted, or simply low, your brain does not reach for protein. It reaches for sweetness. Why would a system shaped by millions of years of survival pressure prioritize something so nutritionally empty at the exact moment your body should be asking for repair? The answer is not really about food. It is about a season that ended roughly 12,000 years ago, and a signal your brain has never stopped listening for. Before there were vending machines, before there was agriculture, before there was anything resembling a kitchen, there was a single, narrow window each year when the most valuable calories on the planet hung from a branch, glowing red and orange, and disappeared again within weeks. What happened inside that window rewired something in the human brain that has not changed since, and it explains, with uncomfortable precision, why grief and a candy bar ended up wired to the same circuit. But that is only half the story. Around 50 million years ago, the ancestors of modern primates evolved something unusual, full-color vision. In 1996, biologist Gerald Jacobs at the University of California, Santa Barbara, traced this shift directly back to fruit. Most mammals see only a narrow range of blues and yellows. Primates gained the ability to see red and orange clearly, the exact colors of ripening fruit against green leaves. This was not decorative. It was a targeting system, built so the eye could find the few days each fruit was edible before it rotted or vanished. Ripeness, in other words, was a deadline. Unripe fruit is often bitter, sometimes toxic, defended chemically by the plant itself. Ripe fruit is a brief truce, sugar spiking for a few days as a reward for spreading the plant's seeds. Miss that window and the calories are gone, eaten by something else or rotting on the ground. This single fact shaped something deeper than eyesight. In 2014, anthropologist Nathaniel Dominy at Dartmouth College proposed that the entire reward circuit tied to sweetness in primates evolved around scarcity, not abundance. Sweet never meant treat. Sweet meant the window is open, take it now, it will not last. The brain that hesitated lost the calories. The brain that grabbed immediately survived the season that followed. That urgency had to be stored somewhere. It landed in dopamine, the chemical responsible not for pleasure itself, but for the drive towards something before you have it. In 1996, Princeton researcher Bartley Hobel found that rats given intermittent access to sugar developed dopamine surges nearly identical to those seen in addiction models, the sugar circuit overlapping precisely with seeking, not with satisfaction. Now add stress to the system. In 2003, physiologist Mary Dallman at the University of California, San Francisco, published research showing that comfort foods, sugar and fat specifically, measurably reduced the stress hormone response in lab animals. Cortisol dropped. The animals didn't even need to be hungry. The craving was never really about energy. It was the brain trying to shut off an alarm using the oldest tool it had. Among hunter-gatherer groups studied directly, the pattern holds. Anthropologist Alyssa Crittenden, working with the Hadza of Tanzania beginning in the early 2000s, documented that honey and ripe fruit were the most desired, most fought over foods in the entire diet, prioritized even over protein-dense meat, gathered urgently and eaten almost immediately rather than stored. Sweetness was never something to manage carefully. It was something to seize the moment it appeared, because the moment never lasted. This explains why the contrast matters so much today. A wild fig studied by botanists rarely tests above 6 to 8% sugar. A modern supermarket grape, bred over centuries for exactly this craving, regularly tests above 20%. The plant did not change on its own. For thousands of years, humans kept selecting the sweetest fruit available and replanting its seeds, slowly turning a rare seasonal reward into something closer to constant, long before any factory was involved. For roughly 200,000 years, this system worked exactly as designed, a rare signal, tightly tied to a real and narrow season of abundance before winter scarcity. There was no daily access. There was no constant supply. The circuit assumed scarcity as a permanent condition. That assumption held all the way until something happened that the circuit was never built to survive. But here is the dark turn. In the early 1980s, executives inside the American food industry began deliberately engineering products around what researchers called the bliss point, the precise concentration of sugar that maximizes craving without triggering the body's natural shutoff response. Food scientist Howard Moskowitz, consulting across the industry through the 1980s and 90s, mathematically modeled that point for products ranging from soda to salad dressing, optimizing not for nutrition but for the exact signal your 50-million-year-old visual and dopamine system was built to chase. This means the urgency you feel standing in front of a vending machine after a bad day is not a coincidence, and not a personal failing. It is a precision-engineered echo of a starvation season alarm, tuned by people who understood the ancient circuit better than you do, sitting fully exposed in a fluorescent hallway, available every hour of every day, with no season, no scarcity, and no shutoff. And grief makes it worse. Sadness, like physical threat, raises cortisol. Your ancient system reads rising cortisol the same way whether the cause is a predator or a phone call you didn't want to receive. It does not distinguish between danger and heartbreak. It simply activates the oldest shutoff switch it has ever owned: sweetness, urgency, take it now. The candy bar was never really about hunger. It was about silencing an alarm that has been ringing, in one form or another, for 200,000 years. Step back far enough and the picture changes. This was never really a story about willpower, or sugar, or even food. It was a story about a brain built for a world with one narrow window of safety each year, now living inside a world that manufactured that window and left it open permanently. Every aisle of a grocery store is, in a sense, a frozen ripening season, engineered never to end, reachable at 3 in the morning if you want it. Your body still runs the original program. When you feel low, when something hurts, when the day has taken more than it gave back, the same circuit that once sent your ancestors running toward a fig tree before winter sends you toward whatever sweetness is nearest. You are not broken when this happens. You are simply old in a way no calendar can measure. The branch changed. The vending machine changed. The grief is real, and modern, and entirely yours. But the response underneath it is the same one a primate used 50 million years ago, in a forest none of us will ever see, trying to outlast a season that no longer exists. So the next time your hand reaches for something sweet on a hard day, you will know what is actually happening. It is not weakness reaching for the chocolate bar. It is 200,000 years of survival, mistaking a fluorescent hallway for the last safe branch before winter. Tonight, when the sadness comes and your hand moves toward the cabinet without asking permission, you will feel it again, that old, wordless urgency, still convinced that this sweetness might be the last one before the season ends. If you enjoyed this exploration, subscribe for more stories hidden in history, science, and the human condition. And until next time, stay curious.